On October 28th, at our fall town meeting, voters will be asked to make several decisions related to stormwater. As chair of the Board of Selectmen, I've been asked to share this video ahead of special town meeting to give voters time to understand the issue at hand. The decisions at town meeting will include funding software upgrades to streamline stormwater billing, establishing an enterprise fund to isolate stormwater revenue and expenses, accepting a local option to allow qualifying taxpayers to defer their stormwater fee. First, we need to understand why managing our stormwater is important and how the ways we handle stormwater in town directly affect the quality of our drinking water. The cost of stormwater management is rising because of new state and federal regulations for Massachusetts cities and towns on our drainage systems. Because of these mandates, aging pipes, culverts, and catch basins in our drainage system will require more maintenance and replacement with every passing year. Stormwater runoff comes from rain and snowmelt that flows over land or hard surfaces such as paved streets, parking lots, and building rooftops into drains that carry it over to local waterways or it soaks into the ground. Stormwater management affects every resident and business. It impacts public health, safety, travel, quality of life, and the local economy. Let's look at the main reasons effective stormwater management is important. All of Westford's drinking water comes from groundwater. Rain and snowmelt must slowly soak into the ground to replenish groundwater. As forests and meadows are converted to lawns, pavement, and buildings, runoff increases and becomes polluted while the natural filtering of groundwater decreases. When drainage systems are not proactively maintained or designed for denser development, stormwater can cause flooding in streets, homes, and businesses. Stormwater is the single largest contributor of pollutants into our local water bodies. As it travels across the land, stormwater collects debris like trash, pet waste, fertilizers, dirt and sediment, car oil, and antifreeze. These pollutants flow into storm drains and catch basins in roadways and parking lots and are discharged untreated into our local water bodies. This harms our rivers, streams, and lakes, which we value for their beauty, recreational opportunities, and wildlife habitat. Today, Beaver Brook, Stony Brook, and Tadmuck Brook do not currently meet Clean Water Act goals for human and wildlife uses due to stormwater pollution. Since 2003, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has regulated stormwater discharges from Westford's drainage system through the Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, or MS4 permit. On July 1, 2018, this permit was updated, requiring communities to do considerably more work to manage their stormwater runoff. Since 2003, the town has stayed in compliance. In the past, we have funded this compliance through our regular budget, spending approximately $600,000 per year, spread over several town departments. In 2016, a master plan was created to comply with the more stringent standards. In order to fund this master plan, we need to increase our spending to $1,600,000 per year. Let's take a closer look at our stormwater infrastructure. Westford currently maintains drainage pipes, catch basins and manholes, culverts, outfalls into our water bodies, miles of public roads, equipment and vehicles to maintain this infrastructure. Now let's take a look at what we currently do to comply with our stormwater permit. Our current stormwater permit requires us to satisfy 6 minimum control measures. Provide educational material about stormwater to residents, industrial and commercial businesses, and construction companies. Meet annually with the public to receive input and feedback on our stormwater management program. Find and eliminate sources of non-stormwater from our storm sewer system. Require construction sites that disturb 1 or more acres of land to manage stormwater discharges. Monitor and address stormwater runoff from new development and redevelopment that disturb 1 or more acres of land. And implement good housekeeping practices in municipal operations, such as vehicle maintenance, open space, buildings, and infrastructure. So what more do we need to do that will cost an additional $1 million per year? The additional expenses can be broken down into 4 categories: human resources, operating expenses, debt service, and capital expenditures. Human resources are the additional labor needed to map our stormwater management system, manage increased permit compliance requirements, test and screen outfall, provide additional work hours in the highway department, and clerical hours for billing and collecting the fee, among other things. Operating expenses will increase to double the amount of street sweeping and catch basin cleaning, and to monitor the conditions of corrugated pipe, along with testing for, investigating and reporting problematic drainage areas, and performing corrective action when needed. The debt service will finance improvements to our stormwater drainage systems, such as culverts, pipes, and storm drains as prioritized by the Stormwater Master Plan and the recommendations of our highway superintendent and town engineer. Capital expenditures will be for repairs and maintenance we can fund through the collections in years 1 and 2 rather than borrow. For the past year, the selectmen have discussed various ways to fund this obligation and have come to the conclusion that new revenue is needed to avoid significant reductions in other town departments. The selectmen considered an override, a surtax, and a new fee. Ultimately, the fee was chosen as the most advantageous and lowest cost to residents. Here's how selectmen arrived at the decision. First, at the highest level, is the question of compliance. While the Selectmen and Finance Committee discussed the option of non-compliance, all members agree that compliance is in our best interest, both for reasons of protecting our natural resources and because non-compliance will most likely result in costly fines and forced compliance under a court order, which will create more oversight costs. Once you support compliance, the next question is to what level? Town staff presented the Selectmen with estimates for minimum, protective, and advanced levels of funding. The Selectmen support protective compliance, which is approximately $1 million of new spending each year. The next question is how to fund compliance, either through budget reductions, which means reduction of services across all departments, or new revenue. The Selectmen and Finance Committee were in agreement supporting new revenue. The two options for new revenue are a tax or a fee. A tax would be assessed based on property values and require a town meeting vote and ballot vote. A fee is based on the amount of impervious surface on a property and is established by the Selectmen. The Selectmen have voted to implement a fee. It is important to point out that under either funding mechanism, all appropriations or expenditures would have to be approved by town meeting. At the bottom of this decision tree, we highlight the two accounting mechanisms to manage stormwater funds. The Enterprise Fund is recommended by the Selectmen because it will isolate stormwater revenue into a separate account, which will improve tracking and transparency. If the Enterprise Fund is not passed, stormwater revenue can be put into the general fund, but money left at the end of the year would go into free cash and need to be appropriated back to stormwater at a future town meeting. The fee system is a new concept for the town of Westford. However, it has been implemented in hundreds of communities across the country. It is accepted that this is not an exact one-to-one measure for a property's contribution, but is a reasonable base. On August 27, 2019, John Giorgio from KP Law addressed the Board of Selectmen regarding questions about the legality of the fee.
There is ample case law, in my opinion, to justify the fee. As I indicated, it's been adopted by around 15 other towns in Massachusetts. The key here, though, is the statute. Chapter 83, Section 16 expressly authorizes this fee. There are standards in that statute that the town has to meet to ensure that people are only paying what they're contributing in terms of the problem. And as long as you follow those standards in the statute, and I believe you've been advised by your engineering consultants and your financial consultants what those standards are. What I've seen, it looks to me like you would be complying, then I think that the fee would be defensible.
To better understand the use of impervious surface as a measurement of contribution, let's compare two residential properties and a commercial property, all assessed at approximately $500,000, and all pay approximately $8,000 a year in real estate taxes. If we pay for stormwater improvements through taxation, each of these properties would pay approximately an additional $110 per year in real estate taxes. Now let's take a look at the fee structure. The first residential property in this example is assessed at $505,000 and has 2,992 square feet of impervious area. This property will be charged a fee of $75, the middle tier. The second residential property is assessed at $506,000 and has 5,650 square feet of impervious area. This property will be charged a fee of $150, the highest tier. The commercial property is assessed at $500,000 and has 14,256 square feet of impervious area. This property will be charged a fee of $375, which is equivalent to 5 average residential units. Residents have asked how the impervious surface on their property will be calculated. We already have the data for each parcel based on the town's current Geographical Information System, or GIS, database. Impervious surfaces are computer-generated by LiDAR laser images taken from an aircraft. Recognizing that few properties in Westford are average, and to simplify the process, residential properties will be billed a flat rate per year based on a 5-tier system. The approximate amount of impervious surface on your property will determine which tier your property falls into, and yearly rates will range from $37.50 to $150. Voters have asked if this fee will increase over time. In this table, we show how the fee will remain constant for the first 3 years because we have a 3-year plan and have spread the expenses over 3 years. The funding requirements for Stormwater Management Program will be reviewed prior to the end of fiscal year 2023 to determine appropriate fee level and term for fiscal year 2024 and beyond. If this is funded through taxation, it is important to note that a tax would continue to rise because of Prop 2.5 and increasing home values. It is also important to note here that we have a similar scenario in town where the water commissioners have discretion to set a fee based upon projected operational and capital needs. The rates are determined by the commissioners through discussions that take place in open public meetings. Town meeting approves the water department's budget, and the board of the water department has the sole discretion to set the rates. Regarding the legality of the fee, the town must also offer credits. Our staff and consultants help the selectmen craft a credit policy that is fair, related to stormwater impacts, and easy to administer. Commercial properties in neighborhoods constructed after 2008 that comply with their stormwater permit would be eligible for a credit of up to 50% of the fee for commercial properties, or a reduction by 1 tier lower for residential properties. Our staff has tracked the eligible properties and calculated we would give a maximum of $12,000 per year in credit to eligible properties. Properties constructed without a stormwater permit would have to meet the standards of the permit to qualify for a credit. With this credit policy, we are recognizing properties that were built to minimize their impact on stormwater infrastructure. We are minimizing the administrative burden, and we are not making a significant reduction in projected revenue. During the board's discussions about the stormwater fee, concerns regarding low-income seniors were voiced by several people. Stormwater fees will be billed to every property owner. There is no provision under the law to reduce or remove the fee based on income. However, the law does provide a local option which would allow qualifying seniors to defer their stormwater fee. Deferred fees would be paid when the property is sold. With that in mind, I'd like to summarize again what you will be voting on at special town meeting on October 28th. Voters will be asked in Article 6 to support the purchase of an upgrade to our Munis software, the program we currently use to manage our town's financial procedures, to continue to bill residents for water and efficiently begin billing the stormwater fee. The second motion related to stormwater is the creation of an enterprise fund. An enterprise fund holds the revenue in a separate account, and it can only be spent on stormwater. Remember that money in the general fund could be appropriated to a different use, and the tracking is more complicated, especially in situations where we are saving over a period of years to finance capital projects. Expenditures out of the Stormwater Enterprise Fund will still be approved at town meeting each year. And Article number 7 is seeking town meeting approval to allow qualifying low-income seniors to defer their stormwater fee. The objective in all of this is to keep our drinking water clean from contaminants by meeting the federal mandates and to avoid costly fees if we are found to be non-compliant. The Selectmen ask for your support in passing these warrant articles at special town meeting on October 28th. Thank you.